What if I told you that one of the most dangerous things you can do is tell a depressed person to just change their environment? Or even worse, tell someone who is deeply unhappy that they have a chemical imbalance and put them on medication they don't need. Both mistakes happen every single day, and both of them come from the same root confusion. People, including professionals, mixing up depression with deep unhappiness. They look the same on the surface. They feel similar in the dark, but they are fundamentally, biologically, and psychologically different. And the way you treat one can actively harm the other. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly which one you are dealing with. And that knowledge, it might be the most important thing you learn. Let's start with a story. Imagine two people. Both wake up every morning feeling empty. Both have lost interest in things they used to love. Both cry in the car on the way to work. Both tell their friends, I just don't feel like myself anymore. From the outside, identical. From the inside, completely different problems. Person A is in a relationship that has been slowly draining him for 3 years. He hates his job. He has drifted away from his friends. His life objectively is not working. On the other hand, person B has a beautiful life by every external measure. Great job, loving partner, close friends. But the emptiness is still there. It doesn't move when circumstances changes. It is like a fog that lives inside him, not around him. Person A is deeply unhappy. On the other hand, person B is depressed. And you know what the tragedy is? Person A goes to a doctor, mentions their symptom, and walks out with antidepressants. And person B goes to a life coach and gets told to think positive and take action, and spends 2 more years wondering why nothing helps. This confusion is not just academic, it has real consequences. So, why are we so bad at telling them apart? Because psychology gave us a checklist, and checklists don't care about context. Deep unhappiness is a rational response to an irrational situation. Your brain is working exactly as designed. It is sending you a signal. Something in your life needs to change. Psychologists sometimes call this circumstantial or reactive distress, a state of prolonged suffering that is directly anchored to external conditions. If you are deeply unhappy and you removed or changed the source of your pain, the unhappiness moves with it. It shifts, it lightens. Here are signs you might be deeply unhappy rather than depressed. You can still feel flashes of genuine joy, a good meal, a funny moment, time with the right person. Your low mood has a narrative. You can trace it to something, a relationship, a job, a loss, a version of yourself you have abandoned. When you imagine a different life, it genuinely feels brighter, not just intellectually but emotionally. You still have a desire, you want things, you just can't access them from where you are. Deep unhappiness is painful, profoundly so. but it is also purposeful. It is your psyche demanding accountability from your life. Depression is different in a way that most people don't fully understand. Depression is not sadness about something. Depression is the loss of the emotional system that processes meaning itself. Neuroscientist Robert Spolsky describes it as one of the most painful conditions a human being can experience. Not because of what it makes you feel, but because of what it makes you stop feeling. Here is what makes clinical depression distinct. Anhedonia, the absence of pleasure. Not just reduced pleasure, but absent pleasure. Things that should feel good, food, touch, music, accomplishment, register as flat, empty, and nothing. This is the hallmark of depression that deep unhappiness rarely produces. An unhappy person still wants. On the other hand, a depressed person often stops wanting. Mood that does not respond to good news. Tell a deeply unhappy person their dream job just called. They will feel something: relief, excitement, hope. But tell a depressed person the same thing, and often they will feel nothing, or worse, even dreadful. Because depression hijacks the brain's reward system at a neurological level. Pervasiveness across all domains. Deep unhappiness tends to cluster around the source of pain, but depression bleeds everywhere: relationships, appetite, cognition, physical energy, sense of future. Temporal distortion. Depressed individuals frequently lose their sense of a future self entirely. It is not, "I am unhappy right now." It is, "This is simply who I am, and it will always be this way." That cognitive distortion, that hopelessness, is a clinical signature. Physical symptoms with no external trigger. Fatigue that sleep does not fix. Brain fog. Changes in appetite or weight. Depression lives in the body in ways that deep unhappiness typically doesn't. Here is where it gets complicated and why even trained clinicians get this wrong. Deep unhappiness can trigger depression. If someone stays in a painful life situation long enough, if the suffering is chronic and they feel trapped, their brain can literally rewire into a depressive state. What started as a rational signal change something, becomes a biological condition. I am broken. This is why context and timeline matters enormously in diagnosis. The question is not just what are your symptoms. The question is, when you imagine your life genuinely improving, do you feel hope or nothing? Hope is the diagnostic pivot point. Deep happiness preserves hope. It is painful because you can see what is missing. On the other hand, depression erodes hope at the source. The future feels unreachable, not just uncertain. So, if you are deeply unhappy, the intervention is change. Change your environment, change your relationships, reconnect with your values. Therapy here is about clarity and courage, not chemical intervention. And if you are depressed, the intervention is often stabilization first. You cannot think and force yourself out of a neurological condition. Trying to force action and positivity on a depressed brain does not build momentum. It builds shame because the person fails and concludes they are even more broken. This is why the right diagnosis is not just clinical, it is compassionate. Telling someone who is deeply unhappy that they have a disease robs them of agency. It says the problem is inside you when the problem is around them. Similarly, telling someone who is depressed to just make changes is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. Both people are suffering. Both deserve to be seen accurately. So, here is where I want to leave you. If you have been sitting with that low, heavy feeling, don't rush to label it. Sit with this question first. When I imagine my life genuinely changing, do I feel hope or nothing? If you feel something, even a flicker of longing, that is information. That is your psyche pointing a direction. And if you feel nothing, that is also information. And it means you probably need support that goes deeper than motivation or mindset. Neither answer is a failure. Both are just data. And knowing the difference is where healing actually begins.